2012. This chat is going to be focused on religious and spiritual life at Dartmouth, and this is an opportunity for you to ask us your questions. So all you have to do is just post your questions on the chat box right below the screen, and we'll be able to answer them. So to start, we'll introduce ourselves. My name is Alex. I'm joined by Cordelia as well as Rachel, and I'll start by telling a little bit about myself. I'm a 14, which means I'm a sophomore here on campus. I'm involved in a few things. Extracurricularly, I'm involved in missions, where I do marketing communications as an intern, and I'm also a tour guide. I'm also involved in Student Assembly, where I'm the treasurer of that organization, and I'm involved in Money Smart, which is a community service organization that I'm going to tell you a lot more about later on.
Hi, my name is Cordelia Usu, and I'm a 13, which means I'm a junior. I'm a women's and gender studies major. On campus, I'm involved with issues that concern women, like Mentors Against Violence. Proud to be a Women Dinner, I help organize that. And I also do Students Fighting Hunger, which is just an organization whereby we cook for senior citizens in Hanover.
Cool. I'm Rachel. I'm a 13, like Cordelia, I'm a junior. I'm from Hershey, Pennsylvania. I'm a neuroscience major, and on campus, I'm involved in a bunch of organizations run by the Tucker Foundation, which we'll talk a lot about here.
Excellent. Well, let's talk about that now. So the Tucker Foundation is our center for spirituality as well as service on campus. So we're going to be talking more about the service aspect of that. So they offer a slew of opportunities as well as resources within the Tucker Foundation. And I guess we can start by talking about the organizations we're involved in within Tucker. So you want to start?
Sure. I'm involved in one organization called OLE, which stands for Outdoor Leadership Experience. That is an organization in which we take middle schoolers and high schoolers from the Upper Valley of New Hampshire and Vermont and teach them leadership and group facilitation skills through the outdoors. Also involved in an organization called North Country Weekend, where we bring kids from inner city Boston up to campus for a weekend to try to show them why they should be interested in going to college, show them what they can learn, how they can get here. And also Special Olympics, where we go bowling every week and also have winter and summer games.
Great.
Yeah.
With me, it's a little different. I don't really work with Tucker that much. I work with Dickey, which is another foundation that
focus on international understanding.
Yeah, international. Like going abroad to volunteer and stuff like that. And I did something with them. I went to India in the fall to just teach English to women, which was very rewarding, and just like applying stuff I've learned in class, just seeing how that manifests in the real world.
Wow, that's really cool. And personally, I'm involved in Money Smart. Money Smart is a organization on campus that's focused on providing financial literacy to students. Basically what we do is we go out to areas around the Upper Valley, New Hampshire and Vermont region, and we go and we try to teach them simple spending decisions. So we go through how much money you could save if you quit smoking and didn't buy cigarettes anymore. Or we do things with younger students, like who are preparing for college. We go through what the actual cost of college is and how you can save up for it, how you can plan for it, and simple things like how you go through the application process when you're going through financial aid. So it's a very rewarding experience. I definitely really enjoy being a part of that. We also just posted links to Tucker Center and Dickey Center in the chat, so feel free to explore those, and also let us know if you have any other questions. So let's go into a little more of what resources Tucker and Dickey have to offer. They're centers that are like full buildings that are fully staffed, and they have a lot of great resources. So what have you guys found so far through Tucker and Dickey that you can kind of take advantage of?
I think for me, just when you're interested in something, and the college has that support system to help you with it. Like just if you want to go anywhere in the world, you can just simply apply for funding and just do what you really love to do. I think that's really important. It has, for me, it has helped me in my college life career type thing, because I was able to really enjoy what I did in class and also enjoy what I did off campus at the same time.
And just to elaborate more on that, Dartmouth is very unique because of the D plan, and since we have this flexibility, we have a quarter system where you can choose, you're required to be on for a certain number of terms, but you can kind of have some flexibility in deciding, where you want to be and what you want to be doing. So you have this opportunity to go abroad and, work and teach English, or work in a clinic in Africa, something like that. There's so many options, and I've had a lot of friends that have been able to take advantage of that. And the nice thing is, as well, with that, is that we go with this philosophy with admissions where you apply and we are need blind, so we don't, accept you whether or not you can pay for college. And when you enter Dartmouth, we don't lose that philosophy either. Just as Cordelia mentioned, we have multiple centers across campus where you can get funding to do these different projects, whether you're traveling or whether you're working somewhere abroad. So it's really great to have that resource. So what other things have you found through Tucker?
Sure. I would say that Tucker just has a ton of programs that are available that can really appeal to any sort of interest you may have. Like when I came to school, within the first week I went to the volunteer fair. There's a volunteer fair every term that shows you all of the different organizations that Tucker and I'm assuming Dickey offer for students. And I was sort of able to just wander around for an hour and write my name down on every Blitz list and get an email from each of those organizations explaining a little bit more about what they do, who might be interested, and easily signed up for 10 or 15 different things that I thought might be interesting and tested them out and chose which ones I wanted to be more active in, and have stayed really active in those communities. So that was a fantastic way to get really involved immediately.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, we actually have our first question posted, and the viewer is asking, what sort of community service is there around Dartmouth, because it's not in a city? Well, great question. Well, we've already both mentioned projects that we're involved in, and you'd be surprised, there's a huge need in the Upper Valley, New Hampshire, Vermont area. It's really incredible. Two centers that I work with, one is Family Place. Family Place is located in Norwich, Vermont, which is just over the river. It's about a 10-minute drive from here. And it's actually, a place that we go where there's single mothers who are on food stamps, and they go there to drop off their kids for daycare, and they have some instructional aspect as well. And Money Smart is one of the instructional aspects. So we go and we teach them all these different things and kind of go through one-on-one help, budget planning, things like that. And it's surprising to see the need. We're not in the middle of nowhere. There's actually a huge population. And you want to talk a little bit more about groups you worked with?
Sure, absolutely. I was going to say, actually, the Dartmouth and Tucker are able to provide us funding to go a little bit further outside of Hanover. So OLE, the organization that I work with, goes 40 minutes away, sort of into Vermont, where there's a huge need for mentoring resources. Actually, there are lots of kids you wouldn't imagine because we're in the middle of nowhere, essentially, but there are a lot of kids who need stable relationships with older kids. A lot of them have difficult financial situations at home, which provide troubles with their families, and they really value the time that they can spend with us. And we can also then point them toward college because it's not something that they might they might see a lot of. So that's a focus for us.
Yeah. Also, just 10 minutes from campus, there is a church where every Friday students go and cook for senior citizens, and we just hang out with them for 2 hours every Friday, and that is also very rewarding. It's just right at home, some of them are Dartmouth alums, and they live in Hanover, so it's very interesting. You can do so much just being on a small campus.
I mean, it's amazing the need is as well. I know when Hurricane Irene struck this past August, there was this huge need, and I think campus really stepped up to help their surrounding towns. There were so many towns in the Vermont and New Hampshire area that were just completely devastated by the overflowing rivers and the amount of rainfall and wind that we had during that hurricane. And there's, I remember footage of bridges collapsing and things like that, and there's a huge need, and I think Tucker Foundation, as well as the students and Dickey Foundation, also really stepped up to help that need.
One more amazing thing that Tucker throws the Day of Caring every fall term, which is a really neat way to see the surrounding areas and to see groups of people who are really dependent on our help. I think there are 10 groups of people go out to 10 different sites within the Upper Valley community, and it's easy to get involved in that, and it's just a 24-hour mission that a ton of Dartmouth students, faculty, friends, community show up for. So
that's awesome. Well, we actually have another question posted on the chat. Are Dartmouth students service-minded? Some schools also make a graduation requirement, and is there a graduation requirement for service at Dartmouth? And anybody want to address that?
No, there is no graduation requirement, but I think as a student on campus, we are very self-aware of problems we face as a society. For example, the students of African American students on campus, we have this alliance called the Dartmouth Alliance for College Children, which is also sponsored by Tucker, whereby we have students of color whose parents are not necessarily Black or African American who come to Dartmouth, and we just do hair daycare. We just like play with them. It's just like it's something that we feel like we owe to society more so than just being forced to do. Personally, that's what I think.
Yeah, I would say I haven't really met anyone who feels that they've been forced into service, especially just because there are so many different things you can be involved with. Yeah. You can choose something that caters directly to your individual, like desires for involvement. And I have made, some of my best friends through service organizations, and I have so much fun getting out and being involved. I think that's a huge part of it. It doesn't feel like a chore. You get to spend time with amazing people on campus. Yeah. Doing amazing things. And since it is a small community, and like for the last question we were addressing that, you see the impact way more directly than you might in a bigger place. So it's immediately rewarding.
Yeah, I think the other great thing is that there are so many organizations on campus that kind of encourage community service. A lot of sports teams, a lot of fraternities and sororities, and a lot of other groups, they all have different programs that they run themselves that are community service. I know there's a fraternity that I think does like a Halloween party, and they have all of these like fun little games for the kids to come and dress up. And Dream, which is a program here, and they all come and they do activities at the fraternity, and they have all these like Halloween themed things. I know that a lot of sports teams also go out and will go to a soup kitchen or something like that once a term, if not once a month or more regularly. Sure. So a lot of groups on campus do make an active effort to involve themselves in some service, but then there's so many other groups that are service oriented themselves, where other students who are not necessarily in a group that does that can get involved in, which is really great. So what has your favorite thing been to be involved in service-wise here at campus?
That's a tough question. That's a really hard question. I think that my biggest service commitment is to OLA, is to the mentoring program that I do. And I've loved being involved, and I've loved being able to take a position of responsibility. I'm one of the co-chairs now. I think that the reason I enjoy it honestly so much, 80% of that comes from the other Dartmouth kids that do OLA with me. And you can just see how passionate each of those people is about helping the kids that we're involved with. It's hard to put into words. I don't know. I don't want to line them up against each other, but
yeah, definitely. And what about you?
Yeah, that's a hard question. I think just doing something on campus or just locally, we don't necessarily have the mentality that we're gonna save the world, which sometimes can be a little problematic. Just like we're gonna help people in Hanover. We're gonna do what we can. I think that's the most rewarding thing I have learned as a volunteer on campus. Just like I'm recognizing the problems in my community and solving those problems first before I try to change the world. So
that's a great point. So I think we have another question posted in the chat. What do you like the most about Dartmouth, and why should you come here? So that's a pretty open-ended question. I guess if I start that one, my favorite thing about Dartmouth is the community. We have this really tight-knit community. I personally applied to a lot of more urban schools and larger schools, and still ended up at Dartmouth, and I was so happy that I did, because I didn't realize when I was applying that when you go to a more urban school or a larger school, the community is very, very different. When there's other things going around campus, the central focus of the student body is not necessarily going to be happening on campus. It may be off campus. And a lot of schools, whether you're just outside of a city or within a city, you'll go out, especially in nightlife, you'll go out all across the city, and not everyone is going to be going out on one campus or in the same area. And I really like that everyone is kind of together. We have this really, really strong sense of community where everyone, everything's focused on Dartmouth. Whether you're in the town of Hanover or whether you're, in the surrounding area, it's kind of cool that everyone's focused on that. The second thing about community that I really like is that, you'll be wearing any kind of Dartmouth paraphernalia, just like the sweater right here. And if you're wearing that in the airport and you run into an alum, they'll stop you and they'll want to talk forever about things. They'll be like, oh, I'm a Dartmouth 78, oh, I'm a Dartmouth 14. And you'll just talk about all the things. And alums here are just so interconnected, are so much in love with Dartmouth, and just want to talk to you and learn more and hear about it. So having such a strong community is my favorite part. So what about you guys?
I would echo that 100%. I think that the size of our school honestly is perfect because I'm able to recognize so many faces that I really do feel like I'm at home. I'm never somewhere when you're in the library, definitely not when you're in the library or in the food halls, you don't feel like you don't know anyone. But I meet new people every day. And to speak to what you were saying, I was in New York this past winter on an off term, and I saw people from Dartmouth almost every day, randomly. You know, I would see them in the streets. I would be wearing a Dartmouth shirt, or I would just recognize them because you get to know people so well. And I had tons of conversations, went out for coffee, went out for meals with people who went to Dartmouth that I didn't know well at all while I was here. But the fact that you go to the same school and that Dartmouth creates such a bond between people who would otherwise be complete strangers, it was great. And I felt completely at home in one of the biggest cities in the world. It was amazing. And
completely, same thing happened to me, but in Barcelona. I was studying abroad, and we had 2 programs that were there. And despite being in a foreign city, I ran into Dartmouth students at least once a day, and just randomly. And it's kind of cool to have that.
I think one thing that has made my Dartmouth experience very good is the bond I have with my professors. Like, I'm pretty sure in big schools there aren't that many opportunities where you can just sit down with your professor and, you know, have dinner, have lunch, have a coffee, and just talk about what they're interested in, what you're interested in. I think that has really helped and shaped like how I study and what I'm interested in on campus or in my studies. So that has been really rewarding. I mean,
I consistently love the fact that our professors are here for us, and they make that known. You know, it's just like our peer institutions. Our professors are quoted in the Wall Street Journal. They're on NBC. They're flying down to DC or wherever to give talks, and they're flying to North Pole to do research. They're going all over, and they're doing these incredible things. And yet their first priority is consistently and always the students. And I found a lot of my friends at peer institutions just don't find that, you know, the professors that we hear about in the news from other schools, they're just doing the stuff you hear about in the news, and they're not really necessarily teaching courses. All of our professors here are, you know, doing both, and they're juggling them, but they're juggling them well, which is really quite nice. I think Dartmouth gives them the flexibility to continue doing their research, their you know, projects, their writings, but also continue the teaching, which is really kind of a positive element. So we have another question from the chat. If there's an interest in community service that is not represented, how realistic is it to create an organization that can assist or target whatever audience you're looking for? So anybody want to answer that?
Sure. I would say that it's absolutely feasible. I think that there's always going to be an audience who will be interested in anything that anyone else at Dartmouth is interested in. I can't say that I've personally done it, but it's a good idea. Maybe I'll think about it. So I wouldn't know logistically sort of what hoops you have to jump through, but I think that people are 125% supportive. I know that within the organizations I've been involved with, we've made structural changes, or we've changed our goals through the programs, and it's been entirely feasible, you know, getting those things, getting those done. And I've had the support of people at the Tucker Foundation. I've had the support of people in the administration who help out. So I think if you don't find something that you're looking for, which honestly I wouldn't expect, it's easy to make it.
Yeah. There's also the possibility of making your own group. We did that my freshman winter. We tried to raise money for women in Congo. It was called Dartmouth Alliance for Fistula. And it was interesting. We got a lot of funding from Tucker, and we just like came up with this idea and just ran with it and just created a new group that was recognized by the college. So you can do anything. Anything that you want.
I mean, again, with the resources, I could go through a number of programs. I mean, Money Smart, the program I'm involved in, was founded about 3 years ago by a current Dartmouth student was an economics and education double major, and said there's a need here and I want to solve that. And she got funding, and she got kind of resources and advice from the Tucker Foundation. And you know, we have a full staff there that is just there to help you, which is really great. Dream, which we mentioned before, is a mentoring program, and that was founded by Dartmouth students as well. Dartmouth for Clean Water was a partnership between engineering and economics students at Tucker, and you know, there are there's examples that we could go on and on for. And it's nice because, you know, departments across campus will come together and they'll find a need and they'll find solutions. Thayer School of Engineering, for example, there's a course called Engineering 21, which is Introduction to Engineering, and their kind of sole goal is to identify a problem and a need and then to create a solution and to test that out and market it. And they've created a number of really, really great projects. I know one of my favorite ones was I think a project where they looked at is how you can create a light, but something that was like didn't have to be charged. It could either be charged in the sun, just without electricity, and that it could be easily pulled out of a backpack or something. And the student made an inflatable light that kind of mixes chemicals. I guess it's like a one-time use thing and lasts like 24 hours or something. And I just think things like that are really neat, and they're kind of solutions to problems, which is great. So unfortunately, we're out of time, so it's time for us to wrap up. But we want to thank you for joining us for the community service chat. And we'll be actually back in just 10 minutes, and we'll be doing a question and answer chat again on outdoors and the Dartmouth Outing Club at Dartmouth. So we want to congratulate you on getting accepted, and we hope to see you in April, middle April, for Dimensions Weekend. That's our revisit weekend. And if not, we hope to see you in the fall. So have a great rest of your day, and thank you for joining us.